Seriously, this is, I'm impressed that you guys made it. This is how I'm feeling right now. I do feel like this. Are you guys having a good time? I mean, it does feel like a long time ago that Ryan took the stage and said that we can stumble towards greatness. How many of you stumbled towards your room last night around 1 a.m? You know, liquid courage is not courage. Ryan then went to talk about challenging us on our one word. Does that seem like a long time ago? Does anybody want to share their word? I mean, this is about courage, right? That means we got to share. We got to talk about it. What was it? Love? That's a good word. Say it again. Present. I love it. So I've got bracelets for the 2 people that talked. All right, that's coming to you. I've got my hands full right now, but I will get them to you. You want to know what my word was? Friend. I did this purpose exercise, and it was like, I want to be the best blank ever. And what showed up for me was friend. And I think like the friend zone got like a really bad rap. Like, oh, I'm in the friend zone. I'm a 45-year-old man. I want to be your friend. I know there's some college kids in here today, right? Where are the college kids? Do they make it? All right, stand up. One of 6, 2. Look, yeah, let's clap them up. You guys know each other? Now you do. Cool. Like, look, it can get tough out there. So we need friends, and I think that's what this community is all about. Then this man came up stage and wowed us, and I wanted to massage everybody in the room. And he said something that was both dangerous and delicious at the same time. He said, you will always find the evidence for what you choose to believe. Now, this is super dangerous, right? As future makers, because you can always find the data. We're living in a data obesity time right now. So you can always find your point of view. And then the delicious part of this is it's good to believe. It's good to believe in your team. It's good to believe in an idea. Good to believe in a boss. This man says belief is irresistible. And then Bozema and her pants showed up, right? Did you know at 9:23 on Twitter, hashtag Bozema pants was trending? Okay, I made that up, but it's a good joke. It should have been trending. I blame the online people on that one. So I do feel like this. It feels like a long time to day 3. And here we are. And this is a lot of pressure for me. I feel like I want to do what MJ said and what Tim Ellis is going to say. I want to do everything. I'm going to get everything in. And then it's coming. Monday is coming for all of us. And I don't mean to be a downer. I call this the conference come down. All right, but I'm not going to let you down today, I promise you. So who wants to be this? Let me hear it. I mean, you are clearly the committed if you are here. And when I actually read the title, which I did not name, I was like, oh shit, this is a workshop. I've got 40 minutes for a workshop. So it's not gonna be a workshop, but we are gonna do some work. And the reason it cannot be a workshop is I don't know what's going on in your life. I don't know if you're dealing with personal stuff. I don't know if you're dealing with professional stuff. So my job is try to make you go on a little adventure, and it's on you where you wanna go. If you got something in your personal life, work on it. If there's something in your professional life, take it on. It starts here. This is a super tell. This is a super tell. Where are my poker players at? What's my super tell? What do you know about me from this slide? I have a child. I have kids. I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. We've been watching Disney movies for the last 9 years. We've been not talking about Bruno for the last 4 months. But who is this? Who is this character? Sadness. And what is sadness most scared of? Nothing? Change. Like, she doesn't want Riley to move from Minnesota to San Francisco, right? Things will never be the same if we move. But I'm here to tell you that same is the mortal enemy of change. Don't you think it's interesting that this word and this word look so alike? It's just one little letter. So I'm here to tell you that your future is safe with change. Captain Obvious moment, change is hard. Why is it hard in corporations? That's kind of why, because it's quiet. Here's why. Some of you are dealing with this. Now, if you did win an award in the last 2 years, you deserve a t-shirt too for surviving this. And sometimes we forget that everybody else is dealing with this too. We're also dealing with this and the shackles of legacy and doubt and fear. Meanwhile, we're moving at the speed of sloths here. We're not making the money investment. We've got no time, not enough proof fast enough, and you wonder why the change is iterative at best. This is why 70% of corporate initiatives fail, why Deloitte predicted that 43% of millennials would be in a new job in 2 years. You know what the number actually was? How many people left their job last year on their own? 43 million. Highest number ever. 52% of the Fortune 500 are gone since 2000. This number is going to hold. And it begs the question, are you part of this literal grave danger? Is your company next? Now, you should see your faces right now. Oh, boy, Chris, you're never inviting me back, are you? Now, I promise you, this gets better. So, yeah, change is hard, but the hardships of not changing are far harder. As somebody in the States said, if you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance even less. So today we're going to start our shift. You guys ready? You can't start your shift if you don't know how to fight fear. And where does fear live? In your mind. It's kind of like a steel cage match with yourself, and in corporation with your team. Now, you're probably asking, maybe there's some hard question or conversation that has to happen in your life with a team member. Here's the hardest question I'm going to ask you today. You ready? If you could be any animal in the world, what animal would you be? Now, here's the deal. You can pick humans, you can do insects, but no extinct animals, okay? They're extinct for a reason. You don't want to be extinct. Now, talk to the person next to you and exchange your answer. If you know the person next to you, look the other way. You guys got a minute. Go. You might have to present the person you're talking to their answer. So get ready, and I'll need microphones for runners. Fifteen seconds. Are mics ready? Awesome. All right, come on back. Let's come on back. All right. Who wants to share? Who wants to share an answer? All right, this is my guy right here. This is why I went up to him earlier. All right, I want to know first who's the person you interviewed?
Her name is Liz.
Liz?
Yes.
Hi, Liz. Everybody say hi, Liz. All right, what did Liz pick?
Liz picked a dolphin.
She picked a dolphin. Liz, why did Liz pick a dolphin?
Oh my God, I didn't really have a good reason. The visual of dolphin, it's like swimming and crashing up and down the waves. Freedom, that's a good way to describe it.
I'm here for you, Liz.
It came to me first,
okay.
So I went with it.
And who are you?
My name is Ara.
And what did you pick?
I picked a camel.
You picked a camel. Tell me why you picked a camel.
Because they're resilient and moody and don't care what other people think of them.
All right. We're really connecting today, aren't we, this morning? Thank you for sharing. Seriously, that's awesome. Who else? Somebody over here. Middle. Right here. You got a mic for him? Or you can speak loud. All right. Go for it. Platypus. This is what happens when you get creative people in a room together.
I put way too much thought into it over the years. Not the brightest, not the coolest. Quirky.
Pretty fun, but really they're the ultimate at adaptation, and they can survive through anything.
Love it. Who else? One more. One more. Come on. So who's going to be brave? Somewhere over here. Go for it. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm chatting here with Nicole.
And who are you?
I'm Leslie.
Hi, Leslie.
Hi. And she chose a peacock because of its plumage, and it's bold, and it's beautiful too. So, and the flying thing, we weren't sure about being a flightless bird. But
oh, okay. Yeah, touche. And what did you pick?
I chose a lion.
You chose a lion.
I'm a Leo, and it fits me. Really
you don't
does.
think that maybe my hat had some sort of like inception?
I'm feeling it. Yep.
Bro.
The bracelet, I'm feeling it.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. All right. I've been asking this question everywhere I've gone for the last 4 years. You want to know what the number one answer is? Bird. Now, usually it's not a flightless bird. Breaking news, right? But it's a bird. And I think 25% of people want to be birds. I think we choose this because some say we want to see everything. I want that perspective. Others because, well, we always want what we can't have. We want to fly, and I think some of us want to fly away from our problems, frankly. The number two is almost always the dog. Yes, and that was a good sound. Like we are starving for unconditional love. And number three is almost always the lion and the cat. And this is unfair because there's lots of cats, and I put them all together. But since I've asked this question, not once has someone said this little bugger. Not one time has somebody said, La cucaracha. All right, and there's three insights to take away from La cucaracha. Number one, when Bozema was talking about Latin, I was like, oh shit, is she gonna be here and call me out on this? So I had to look again. Latin, cockroach is blada, which means light shunning. Now we know that we like the light as humans. Right? These little buggers are not afraid to go into the darkness. We want to stay where it's nice and safe. And insight number two, if you see one, by the way, if you don't like cockroaches, look away. So these are gregarious little creatures, and they're not afraid to go down and play together. Now, when we finally go and be courageous, do we go with other people, or usually do we go by ourselves? In fact or fiction, a cockroach can live without its head. Who thinks it's a fact? Who thinks it's fiction? I mean, the fact that I'm asking the question, right? A little bit, right? It's a fact. So a cockroach can live for 30 days without its head. Now, I don't know what their purpose would be. I've never had the honor of interviewing a headless cockroach before. But what I will tell you is, how often do you wish we could chop off our heads, analysis paralysis, and get out of our heads? So today we're going into the darkness. We're not going to go alone. That's what the gathering's all about, right? Look around. This is our community, and we're going to get out of our heads. Now, it's hard to get out of our heads during such a cloudy time, and just because I'm California doesn't make this a cannabis slide. No, I was not at the 420 party. I was working on my presentation. Not only have we been living through this pandemic, I would say we have a clarity epidemic. And when we're not clear, it makes it hard for us to make choices. But today, we're going to fight fear. We're going to create clarity, and we're going to learn how to build belief. The rest of this presentation is broken up into the why now. Why do we absolutely have to unlock courage? And then how do you do it? Like actual practical steps. At the end, I will give you 3 things you can start working on right now. Maybe after today. That's not fair to the other speakers. So let's start with the why now. I got the luxury of going around and shutting up for 1,000 days and interviewing what I call the brave, the bullish, and the brainiac. It's almost unfair that you get to like sit with astronauts and Navy SEALs and tornado chasers and leaders at Google and Apple and Harvard, and then people that study just like clinical psychologists and Cambridge PhDs. Why do we tiptoe right up to a courageous idea, and then most of us take a step back? And what I learned was that most leaders, they just don't see courage as relevant in their business. Anybody know the name J. Cone Gilbert? So he founded and won. He's also the founder of B Corp. He says, courage is just outside the core area of focus. I know this makes sense for all of you. You've got like just emails that are piling up and quarterly reviews if you're a public company. But again, we're so focused on today, how do we get to tomorrow? Meanwhile, most employees don't see the benefit of being courageous. Most of us are on an annual review. We're actually rewarded not to stick our neck out. The CEO of my family, my wife, has no interest in us leaving San Diego. Don't say something that's going to get us fired. So as long as I get to that next review, I get that little bump, and I get to stay in sunny San Diego. And then 3, we just don't know how to be courageous, so we confuse it with maybe a resilient move or maybe a reckless move. And the definition doesn't help. The ability to do something that frightens one. Does anybody want to do this? We've got 1. This is about accurate. 2. How about at work? We've got 1. Most people don't want to do this, so we never move. Now, the thing that got you here won't keep you here. Do we agree on this? Easier said. And what's happening here is we've got a serious trifecta fail, right? We're not making the investments on retail. I think we feel this on talent. And then, tech is expensive. And so where do you put your money? Meanwhile, we've got these seismic shopping shifts happening from offline to online and curbline. How much money do you think Amazon is taking right now from offline to online? Does anyone know the actual number? 77 cents of every dollar is shifting from companies to Amazon. Now, does anybody in here have a problem with Amazon? No, we're lazy. So we like Amazon. There's a reason this man is smiling. By the way, this is not Chris Nealand. This is Jeff Bezos. All right, so 90% of us are satisfied with Amazon. I think that this slide is directly responsible for the saddest slide in my deck. Are you ready? Yeah. By the way, I think Jeffrey bought that suitcase on Amazon. All right, now, what if I would have said, "Aw, Enron's gone"? Would you have felt the same way? Why do we love Toys R Us? I've heard nostalgia, right? I don't want to grow up. But the business flaw was right there in the pithy jingle, right? They've got the best for so much less, they'll really flip your lid. Who has the best for so much less? Amazon, at least they want you to think that they do. So the good news is, I'm sure you're aware, they're coming back, right? You guys excited? All right, so let's say for 1 second, let's get the microphones ready, by the way, that we have pooled our money together, and we are now the co-CEOs of Toys R Us. Congratulations, by the way. Let's pass a hat around. And now we're not in the toy business anymore. We're in the joy business. All right, co-CEOs, what do we do? Let's assume that money wasn't an issue. Who has an idea? Raise your hand. Chris. We got a mic for Chris? Coming up right here, Chris.
Turn my store into Chuck E. Cheese 2.0 and make it the ultimate birthday party hangout.
Love it. Who's going to that? Does anybody here really like Chuck E. Cheese? You got to wear like a hazmat suit to go in there. Oh, shit. Is Chuck E. Cheese here? They're not here, right? Okay. That was close. All right, look, yeah. Experiential, right? Maybe there's like a playpen for kids and Lyft can take us all home at the bar, get us home safe so they're playing and learning. Or as Chris said, there's a trigger on the calendar. Every year there's a birthday. Let's make Jeffrey cool. And any other ideas? Bring it into schools. Let's take this show on the road. Bring the joy to the schools. What do you got? What else? What's the plan? Yeah, so joy isn't just about the kids. It's the teachers, it's the families, it's everybody. Or would anyone be surprised if we did a sustainable send-back toy subscription? $20 a joy a month. All right, again, every decision is made through the lens of joy. That is the filter. That is the clarity. Now, the other big problem is that we're literally wired to fear change. So this was my brain Sherpa. His name is Nicholas Alp. He says, you can't get rid of the archaic layers of the central nervous system. Think of your brain like an onion in reverse order. So that thing that happened to you in high school, Has anybody walked their high school? I guess the last 2 years, no one's walked anywhere. When was the last time you were in your high school? I mean, I'm like, this is what I was afraid of? It's like these little, but in my mind, it was huge. Or maybe it was a boss who bit your head off. Meanwhile, we think that just because technology has advanced, that we have advanced. So great, my smartwatch can tell me how many beats per minute my heart is racing, but has no data whatsoever as to why my heart is trying to escape my chest. Maybe we're going like this. So this thing called our central nervous system paralyzes us. Now, when was the last time you had a normal conversation and said the word central nervous system? Hi, honey, how was your day? How was your central nervous system today? Oh, did you see the game last night? LeBron's central nervous system was unbelievable. All right, so we're not talking about this stuff. Now, the experts say that 95% of us are freeze or flight, and only 5% of us are fight. That means that 95% of us are driven by fear, and 5% of us are driven by courage. It means that 95% of our companies are in preservation mode, while only 5% are in liberation mode. And it means that 95% of us are warriors, while 5% of us are warriors. Now, which would you rather be? I mean, easier said than done. Okay, but what this really means is, just looking at the room here, these 3 couches, stand up real quick. All right, these people in the room are the fighters. Congrats, by the way, way to go. And everybody else is frozen. That's really it. Hey, give them a round of applause, everybody. All right, that's why I feel so strongly. If you can learn how to do this, suddenly you realize that this slide is not about fear. If 52% of the Fortune 500 are going to die, that means there's places opening up. If I was really smart, I'd focus only on the Fortune like 100 or 1,000 and get 501 to 1,000 and get them ready to go in. This slide is only about opportunity. And so a lot of the work I do is changing this to this. And if we could develop a central courage system, then we can learn how to fight. Now, again, I mentioned this definition I'm not a fan of. So you ready for a new definition? If there's one thing you take from today, my hope is that there's something in this that works for you. It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage. Now, you're never going to have every bit of knowledge you need to make a call. I'm sorry. Which is why we need faith. And when we talk about faith, I don't mean it in a religious sense. I mean it in an inner belief sense. And then how often in your career have you known the exact right move to make and you felt it and nothing happened? So the irony is it has to be all 3. Knowledge and faith without action is paralysis. Faith and action without knowledge is a reckless move. And knowledge and action without faith, if you're numb on the inside, if you've been at a company for 15 years and you've allowed yourself to just kind of go through the motions, that's okay. That's just not courage. That's status quo. It's something else. So, the definition of courage, knowledge plus faith plus action. Another way to think about it is, what do I think about this? How does it make me feel? And what am I going to do about it? Now, remember, I'm writing this book, and the book was more like a documentary. So I'm like, okay, so if that's the case, which knowledge should I follow? And how am I going to build faith? And where should I take action? And that gets us into the how. Now, there's a price of becoming courageous. Just what the world needed is another guy with a framework. Here's mine. All right, we're going to go through this quickly. The first 2 steps are what I call organizational health steps. The last 3 steps are courageous business steps. Okay? Prioritize through values and rally believers are first. And we'll start with prioritize through values. And I think we've talked a lot about this. I'm hoping that this sticks a little bit. Did you know that 95% of people want to do business with companies that share their values? Mind blown. And yet, for some reason, the values are not operationalized. Okay, they're ending up as wall art, or even worse, collecting dust on page 47 of the employee manual. And a real sad realization for me was recognizing when high-functioning companies that are pretty good, that we all know, look at values as eye rolls. And the truth is, elite companies know that core values are not eye rolls, they're how the exceptional roll. And when you've never been in an organization that does that, that is the difference. I could tell you that almost every brand that was honored here, the reason that they're a beloved brand and a courage brand is because they've operationalized their values. The values are not CYA values, they're real. So what can we learn from our friend Eminem? My words are weapons. I use them to crush my opponents. This is why I don't rap. Right? My words are weapons. I never show no emotion. My words are weapons. I use them to kill whoever stepped into me. My words are like weapons on a record. So even though companies have emotional values, and they should, when it comes to decision making, it becomes unemotional. If someone is in line with your value, you move forward. And if not, it's decision tree. And there is a courageous decision to be made. When honest company calls themselves honest, what are they saying about everybody else? Do you think that they can make mistakes and cut corners? When the Army goes out in the world with leadership, now think about who goes into the Army. They've got people coming from all walks of life. And they get 16 weeks for basic training. In the first 4 weeks, it's all values all the time. Loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. What's your orientation look like? Do you guys get 16 weeks for onboarding? No, do we get 16 hours before we're handed like a gun for the metaphorical wars of business to try to figure this thing out? And I thought in the spirit of this week, it made a lot of sense to talk about Zappos and my man Tyler. So Tyler probably doesn't remember this picture. He was in the book. I interviewed him and snapped a picture of his key card. Every move Zappos makes was intentional. Remember, Bozema used that word. All right, everything Tony was trying to do was that you would collide with a value. He says our 10 core values are the number one thing in our company. When you walk into their office, the number one value, deliver wow through service, is right there. There's a huge sign on the wall that says Zappos is a service company that just happens to sell. And what's great about this is now it's an elastic purpose, right? Because they're in the service business. Zappos has an internal currency that you can reward to other people called Zollers. And then they've got this Dave & Buster's-like room that you can go buy stuff with. It's not just like pens. There's cool shit, like trips and days off. And I think there's also a place where you can gamble your Zollers. I'm not condoning for that, but they are based in Vegas. So the whole point of these values is to help speed up our decision-making abilities. And my challenge to you is to ask really how valuable are your values? Now, let's say you're sitting here and you're like, oh, Ryan, I am not a founder. Now what? We're going to come back to you, and we're going to talk about your personal values in a minute. But the whole idea is if you don't know what you stand for, you never know when to take a stand. 67% of consumers now want brands to stand up with their point of view. 2/3. Now you're going to piss somebody off, but like this is what we want. This is not a new idea. We know purpose is here to stay. All right, once we know who we are, we got to move on and rally our believers. And I got to address the elephant in the room first, okay? Which is the age-old adage, how do you eat an elephant? Who knows this answer? Yeah, we're hearing one bite at a time. One bite at a time. Could you imagine if MJ, one bite at a time, Tim Ellis, well, we're eating this elephant one bite at a time. Come back in 2029 and I should have an answer for you. Do you have time to eat an elephant one bite at a time? So this cannot possibly be the answer. You want to hear my answer? With a pack of aligned strategic lions. Now this is an incredibly hard slide to find for a presentation, like literally like page 22 of Google to get to this. In the spirit of like using another pack of aligned, we'll go with a pack of aligned strategic bulls. You know, we've got the rebounder, the defender, the GOAT, the sharpshooter, and the mastermind. They all did something different on the team, but they were all aligned. And this is a direct reflection of leadership. Now, ask yourself, are you in a watch your back culture or a got your back culture? When you're in a watch your back culture, you feel like the elephant. Who's coming to eat me? And all your time is going away from the thing you should be doing. And this is a direct reflection of leadership. So the sole goal of leadership is believership. Make believers out of your team, make believers out of your customers, make believers out of your board. And you know when you're making a believer or a fake believer. Now, are fake believers bad people? Some of them, but most no. They should go do something that they believe in. And this comes right back to those values. So there's lots of ways to make a believer. Some of them are very obvious, like caring makes believers. Yeah, if I'm going to work for you for 90 hours, maybe ask me how my family's doing. Repeating makes believers. This is incredibly annoying for leaders because you have to say the same thing over and over again every day. But if you're inconsistent, your team's like, wait, which way are we going? So we need to stay consistent and we need to be a broken record. And seeing makes believers. Now, this is obviously what you think it is on one side, right? Like, I need to lead by example. But it's a little bit more than that. It's literally, people need to literally see to retain. If you want to know why I have every slide like that with a line on it, it's because 80% of what we retain, we see. 10% of what we hear, we retain. So my job is not to just share knowledge, but actually transfer knowledge. I don't care if it makes my deck look like shit. I'd rather you get it. Now, if you've gotten a courageous bracelet this week, raise your hand or put it up. There we go, there we go. So the reason I pass these out is because we need to see it. And maybe there's a moment in your life where you're gonna need it. And that little shiny yellow you see out of the corner of your eye, it's not monkey hear, monkey do, it's monkey see, monkey do. So my hope is that just by wearing it, it'll help you be a little bit more courageous. Now we're moving into the courageous business steps. First is identify fears. Elon says greatness doesn't lie in simply not having fears in the first place, but rather in moving past them. I would say through them. And there's a direct relation between fear and courage. Can't get to one without the others. I'm not a FOMO guy. I'm a FOMP guy, fear of missing fear. I don't think fear is here to hurt us. It's just a piece of information. And then how do you shrink it down? So most of us, of course, suppress that fear versus address that fear. Now, for 60 years, thanks to Stanford, this has been at the top of the podium on how we go about auditing where our business is. Who does this every year? Let's do a SWOT. Okay, every time I do this, my strength ends up on my opportunity list. My weakness ends up on my opportunity list. My weakness ends up on my threat list. I find it to be incredibly cloudy. So what we try to do is actually look at breaking up into fears. What's the industry fear that could take the whole vertical down? How about the product fear? Where could our product be better? A service fear from a customer service standpoint. For all the brand builders, it's perception fears. And then, you know, you're still a human trying to do what you can. Like, can you be honest with your team? And I figured for the purposes of today, we just focus on industry fears and do it in a little game. So the industry fear first to the movie theater is streaming, right? These guys, double win. This slide will not sit well with Bozema again, right? But both these guys are coming for him. And the industry fear to these guys, we're starting easy, Uber or Lyft. And their industry fear? Oh, it gets a little harder. Car services, other car services? Maybe these guys, right? Some say legislation. Maybe these guys. I mean, there's a reason that Uber made an investment here in Lime and started Jump. So they're trying to be proactive about going down and shrinking that fear before someone else takes them. What about the industry for McDonald's? Diabetes. When in the middle of the country, people are like, nobody is the industry fear. Well, maybe it's. Look, when Kentucky Fried Chicken is trying, guys, I mean, they are trying. Has anybody tried it yet? Me neither. All right, industry fear for these guys? Yeah, Google and their industry fear. Yeah, these guys. You go to Google when you want to know something. You go to Amazon when you want to buy something. This thing is like sleeping next to my son, telling stories at night. And that's how powerful this thing is right now. And you even have a fear or you become the fear. Now, one of the things that Merck does is they run a kill the company exercise. And at their offsite, they actually break off into groups. And for 2 hours, they're like, what could take us down? Let's be proactive about this. For the next 2 hours, the executives worked in groups, pretending to be one of Merck's top competitors. And then they brought those ideas back, and they decided if they wanted to invest in those ideas or not. Better for you to cannibalize your business than somebody else. So that's just an example of that. Now, the C is commit to a purpose. I think we got this by now, right? Right? Like, if we don't have a purpose for these guys, they're gone. Now, I always like to say they want to have their cake. They want to eat it too. They want the cake to be gluten-free. It's got to taste delicious. What else do you want? The vegan. Okay, I'm going to add that to the slide next. And good for them. Our job is to create that world together. And the leaders that get it have a shot. So we've talked to tears about our why. My only flip on that is you got to put a rally cry in the why. If there's a true rally cry in the why, people will believe and they'll stay. SpaceX, they've got a great rally cry in their why. Human life on another planet. Hey, what are you doing this weekend? You want to go to brunch? No, I'm just trying to put human life on another planet. Oh, okay. Right, meanwhile, down here on Earth, Patagonia, build the best products, cause no unnecessary harm, use business to inspire and implement solutions to the environmental crisis. In business to save our human planet. Whatever, pick your lane. Life on another planet or here on Earth. Now, easy to add come up with your why. The real question is, can you operationalize that why? This is why your why is not enough anymore. Until your why becomes your how, until you weave it together and everything, when I put up the Toys R Us story and talk about joy, but the C-suite has one creative on it and 9 other-brained people, and they don't understand emotion, that's a problem that needs to be fixed. Now, great rally cries have clear enemies, even T-Mobile. Their rally cry and their why is contract freedom. Their enemy is constraint. Even the CEO will not be constrained to a suit. Or Method Soap, who thought it was odd that you had to wear these gloves to clean your house. How clean are the ingredients if you got to wear rubber gloves to clean your house? And they launched the People Against Dirty, right? They're fighting dirty. Are you for clean or against clean? Are you for dirty or against dirty? See how I switched it there? What was it? Both? For dirty or against dirty? I mean, it's pretty clear to choose. Now, I said from a personal standpoint, my hope is that we can also do this for ourselves. This is Jalen Koff. She's a pretty badass aerial mogulist for the U.S. ski team and an Olympian. And when she went through our program, we identified that the reason she does what she does is because she loves it. And that means her enemy is like. Because like is the enemy of love. You don't want to just like the person you're with. You want to love them. You don't want to just like the job you're at. You want to love it. Hey, what'd you think of that movie last night? I liked it. Okay, so we then went on and created this. Can you guys read that? Deliver the love. And she put it on the back of her helmet. And she'd get lots of DTLs for me. And this year at 3:30 in the morning, as I'm in the dark in my bed with my earbuds, trying not to wake up my wife, watching, I'm crying because she won a silver medal this year. And she is delivering the love. And now it's more than skiing. And we're talking about how else can we deliver the love. All right, in the spirit of executing your action, here are 3 actionable ways you can get out of your gate. On the knowledge side, let's start with Tyler. This is from here. This is in Banff. We were talking, and in the flow of the conversation, he says, if you want to change the world, change yourself. All right, we're spending all this time scrolling social media and not enough time scrolling ourselves. Start with you. These are my personal core values, and these are the order that they're in. Optimism is my number one value. In the book, chapter 7, you're going to see this, and I'm going to ask you to prioritize it. Or if you want to reach out, hit me there. Please, remember, I want to be your friend. That's the deal. 2, on the faith side, it can be really lonely to be you, but look around. Okay, is there a thought leader in the room, by the way? Any thought leaders in the room? Yeah, well, we're kind of all thought leaders, no? That's why you're here? Well, to me, thought leadership is nothing without do leadership. And do leadership does nothing without feel leadership. Your job is to find your raft mates. And there's only so many spots on the raft. You can't have 70 people on a raft. The raft will go down. And the perfect raft, where are my birds at? Raise your hand if you were a bird. Look around, bird people, at each other. Now, I know you love each other. You don't need another bird. You need a lion. You need a platypus. You need a stubborn camel. That's what makes the perfect team. And on the action side, the challenge is to not just look at the world differently, but to do the world differently. Start telling your own stories. Start making your own future. Start here. When you do the values part, that's about getting clear. Believers is about conviction. Confront your fears. Find a real cause. What's that rally cry in your why? And when you get all that right, you have a shot at change. And it just starts with one person. Something that is so controllable as you then turns into 2. And then it's a few, and then it's the Rudy moment where everyone's coming in together. And then it's a crew, and finally a slew. The definition of a slew is an uncontrollable movement. Something so controllable of you opening your mouth and saying, you know what, do you have a minute? Can we have a conversation about this? This feels weird. Or give him my book. That's not a shameless plug. This conversation's hard to do. Gifting knowledge is never a bad thing. What I've learned is that it's not just about the tension and the fear. When you actually go through it, you will come out the other side happier. And those of us who raised our hand feel that. I appreciate your time this morning. Love you guys. Have a great gathering. Bye.